Woke up one morning and there were soldiers. The invasion had begun. We were soldiers getting together. Pull a child, bring a child, child. New York borders, we stand together. But I feel my time has come. If I die here, no resistance. And if I die here in the resistance, you must lay me in my grave. Among the flowers, among the mountains, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Among the flowers, among the mountains, let me rest among the flowers. Today, pick the flowers, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Someday people pick the flowers, and they will remember me. This is the flower of resistance. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. This is the flower of resistance, and those who died for our liberty. They say that Pedro Flores would half the time tuning and the other half putting on a tune. And that's very true. Alright, this is Which Side Are You On? But I made it, I changed the lyrics around so that it's a little bit more pointed toward our current Congress. So. Come all of you good workers, good news to you all town of how our dear resistance has come in here to go. Which side are we on? Which side are we on? In Washington our allies say nothing can be done, but we shall keep the pressure to never let it go. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? When fascists run the White House, our country's in a slump. So represent your voters, your staff, your Donald Trump. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? To Congress sit united while freedom is destroyed. If you keep playing lapdog, then you'll be unemployed. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Don't scatter politicians, don't listen to their lies. Us poor folks haven't got a chance unless we organize. Which side are you on? 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 So this song is one that was written by Woody Guthrie. But he never actually recorded it officially. But ironically, today, literally today, his estate just released a home recording of it. And it's fascinating to hear because he was in the late stages of his Huntington's disease. You can hear the strain in his voice. But it's beautiful, still hearing this come from his own voice. This is D14X. Oranges are packed politically researchers, flying us back to the Mexico border to pay all our money to fly back again. Goodbye to my Juan, goodbye Rosalita, adios mi amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane. All they will call you is deported. My father's own father, he waded that river. They took all the money, they hated his life. 600 miles to the Mexico border. They chased us like assholes, like outlaws, like thieves. Goodbye to my Juan, goodbye Rosalita, adios mi amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane. All they will call you deportees. The sky plane caught fire over Los Gatos Canyon. Big ball of fire shook all the ground. Who are these friends who are falling like dry leaves? Radio said they were just deportees. Goodbye to my Juan, goodbye Rosalita, adios mi amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane. All they will call you a deportee. You died in your hills, you died in your valleys, you died in your orchards, you died in your plains. We died in your deserts, we died in your treetops. Both sides of the river, we died just the same. Goodbye to my Juan, goodbye Rosalita, adios mi amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane. All they will call you deportees. So this is a song by Pete Seeger, and he wrote this song kind of as a jab at how much the U.S. government was spending on weapons at the time in Vietnam. And I kind of saw some of the lyrics that he was saying, and I kind of realized that it was the same thing we're doing with Israel. We're just sending them as much money as we can, and that's what this is called What a Friend We Have in Congress. What a friend we have in Congress. We'll guard our foreign shores, spends 3/4 of our taxes on someone else's war. Guns will make their coastline bristle, and we have to fill their skies full of drones and guided missiles. We paid for by and by. Have you noticed all the progress? The ground is really fleet. By the time a plane's delivered, it's already obsolete. Modern bombs are sure to carry loads of glory, joy, and thrill. What a privilege to bury all the dead our money kills. Watch the families in Gaza, while the mother and child dies, as the front retreats in Kiev will be paid for by and by. Never mind the widows weeping, disregard the orphan's cry. When God wakes the dead and sleeping, will be paid for by and by. This was a little obscure. This is I forget who wrote this one, but it's about this old rebellion in Ireland back in the 1600s about this group called the Diggers, and it's basically their whole story. And I love this song. It's got this hopefulness to it that I love, even though it's not a very happy ending. Banjos are very fickle. Alright, we'll start again. Well, not again, but I'll start from where I left off. They make the laws to serve them well. The clergy dazzle us with heaven, or they damn us into hell. We will not worship this God they serve, the God of greed who feeds the rich, the poor, and some. We need together, we need no swords. We will not bow masters or pay them to the lords. We are free men, though we are born. We diggers all stand up, the glory stand up now. We men of property, the orders came. We sent the hired men and troopers to wipe out the diggers' claim. Tear down their cottages, destroy their corn. They were dispersed, only the visual lingers on. The poor take courage, the rich take care. Wealth was made a common treasury for everyone to share. All things in common, all people one. We come in peace, the order came to cut them down. Who's up there? These chips, they're not designed for a tune up again, because I'm going to change the tune this week. Here's one you guys should actually know. land was made for you and me. The sun was shining and I was strolling, and the fields waiting, and the dust clouds rolling, and the fog was lifting, a voice was chanting. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Islands, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking, I saw a sign there, and on the sign it said no trespassing. But on the other side, it didn't say nothing. That side was made for you and me. In the shadow of the steeple, I saw my people. Leave office, I see my people. And they stood there hungry, I stood there asking, is this land made for you and me? Nobody living can ever stop me. As I go walking, I'm reading highways. There's always wrong, there's always value. This land was made for you and me. This one is a Bob Dylan song. It's one of my favorites. This is off of his first album, actually. Well, his first original album, because his first one was just covers. This is called When the Ship Comes In. Oh, the time will come up when the winds will stop, the breeze will cease to be breathing. There's a stillness in the wind before the hurricane begins. The hour that the ship comes in, and the seas will split and the ship will hit, and the sheds on the shoreline will be shaking, and the tide will sound and the wind will pound, and the morning will be and the words that are used for to keep the ship confused will not be understood as they're spoken. For the kings of the sea will never stay the night, be buried at the bottom of the ocean. Oh, the song will lift as the wind sail shifts, and the boat drifts on to the shoreline, and the sun will respect every face on the deck, the hour that the ship comes in, and the sands will roll out a carpet of gold, your weary toes to be a touching, and the ship's wise man will remind you once again that the whole wide world is watching. Oh, the foes will rise with the sleep still in their eyes, and they'll jerk from their beds and think they're dreaming, but they'll pinch themselves and squeal and know that it's for real. The hour when the ship comes in, and they'll raise their hands, say they'll meet all our demands, and they'll shout from the bow, the days are numbered. Like Pharaoh's tribe, they'll be drowned in the tide. Like a lion, they'll be conquered. I'm going to play one more song, and this one I think is the most fitting for tonight. This is called Fascist Found to Lose. Fascists, you may be surprised, but people in this world are getting organized around
Welcome everybody, bienvenidos. How's everybody doing today?
Great.
I wonder if we could have a moment of silence for Jaime Alaniz, who died this weekend from injuries suffered during the Camarillo raid last week. Jaime Alaniz is the first person known to die during one of the Trump administration's ongoing immigration raids. Our thoughts should also go out to the 12 or so people who were kidnapped during that raid, including CSU professor and California Faculty Association member Jonathan Carabello, who's facing trumped-up charges. Thank you. One of the jobs of the MCA is to cover logistics. See the blue wall? That's the restrooms. Si necesitas ayuda con traducción, tenemos equipo para allá con la Erika y la Jaira. That's my Spanglish. I'd like to say if we could give an applause, thank you for UFCW Local 770 for hosting us today. And without further ado, let me introduce Local 770 President Kathy Finn to the stand. To the,
Thank you. Hi. Oh, fine. Hi, everybody. Good evening and welcome, bienvenidos, to the Ricardo Acaza Workers Center and to one of the homes of Local 770. I am Kathy Finn, President of Local 770. We represent nearly 30,000 grocery, pharmacy, cannabis, healthcare, and food processing, food packaging workers in Southern California. We opened this worker center back in 2017 to serve our packing house members who work mostly in the city of Vernon and to serve just the surrounding communities here. And for the past 8 years, the center has been unwavering in supporting immigrant workers, members, and our communities, delivering critical resources and building power. We've had clinics fighting wage theft, providing health and safety trainings. We assist members to obtain U.S. citizenship, members and their families, as well as others in the community, through record change clinics and our UCAN program, which is Union Citizen Action Network. We educate workers on their rights via workshops and legal support. We've partnered with allies like the LA County Federation of Labor, CHIRLA, and CARESN. We've been collaborating with the Southeast Cities Coalition and the Mayday Coalition to defend workers' dignity, and most recently Local 770 has been active in the Los Angeles Rapid Response Network and has been participating in the Summer of Resistance. And now, though, now more than ever, all of us here, must resist this administration's unfair policies by mobilizing with our labor siblings and community partners to do whatever it takes to protect our members, their families, and their communities from racial profiling, from kidnappings, beatings, detentions, and mass deportations, things that we've seen in the past month like never before. It's just unreal that this is happening in our country, in our community. The vast majority of Local 770 members play a vital role in our food chain, our grocery workers, our food processing workers, putting meals on families' tables every single day. Southeast Los Angeles is home to many food processing plants where our members work. Food processing, like farming, is largely done by immigrant workers. The fact is, without immigrant labor, we would all starve. Immigrants are absolutely essential to our food supply. Despite being vital to our economy, despite their role in keeping us fed and clothed and caring for our children, the immigrant and indigenous community, mostly working folks, are currently under a relentless attack from the federal administration. And frankly, the administration's claims that they are only targeting criminals are total bullshit.
Right.
These raids are not about safety, they're about silencing dissent. ICE raids, militarization, and over-policing are the daily reality in these communities. Trump's current border czar, Tom Homan, recently stated that physical appearance alone is reason enough to question someone's immigration status, openly endorsing racial profiling as policy. There are a few examples. One, recently an Albertsons member of Local 770 who lives in the Central Coast was detained during an ICE raid in his apartment building. This individual is a U.S. citizen. He was dressed in his Albertsons uniform heading to work, and so he was not inside his apartment. ICE was there looking for someone else, but saw this individual, detained him for over 24 hours, despite being a U.S. citizen. And recently he showed up to work now this week, but he missed work that day in his torn uniform, because his uniform was torn during his detention. On June 9th, while we were engaged in El Super contract negotiations in this very room, we learned of an ICE raid near Slauson Avenue's Home Depot, just a few blocks from here. Our El Super members are part of these communities. Obviously, the El Super stores serve these communities. They have seen business drop dramatically as their friends and neighbors are afraid to leave their homes. Some of our El Super members, sadly, have chosen to self-deport. We are in the process of trying to negotiate a contract from them, and their biggest concern now is not their contract, but what's happening in their communities. Immigration protection, both for their customers and workers, has been a major sticking point in bargaining. The company, El Super, has zero sympathy and does not want to agree to any protective language. On June 20th, ICE raided a Soto Leonis textile factory, flooding the area with 20 vehicles and detained 10 plus workers as our staff, who are participating in rapid response, rushed there to respond. Hours later, ICE targeted workers outside a burrito plant, arresting them as they clocked out to go home. All these places are right in the immediate vicinity of where we are. Some of our food processing employers have tried to conduct voluntary internal immigration audits, which they use as an excuse to fire workers. We are currently challenging such practices at Overhill Farms. We have some Overhill Farms members here tonight. They employ a few hundred of our members, and it's literally just blocks from here. In our contract negotiations, we've been fighting to include language to protect members against such audits. We did recently secure in our new grocery contract with Ralph Vaughn's and Albertsons contract language that does ensure that Department of Homeland Security, and ICE agents cannot access non-public areas of our stores without a warrant. And then last week, obviously working with the Rapid Response Network, CHRLA, and other organizations, many of whom are probably in this room right now, we're able to secure a TRO against racial profiling. Don't know what's going to happen with that ultimately. And these things are just first steps. It's not nearly enough.
That's right.
The labor movement has a responsibility to stand united with the communities where our members and their families live to fight back and defend our members and communities' civil rights. All workers deserve dignity, safety, and respect. We stand with workers, their families, and protesters facing unjust ICE raids, militarization, and intimidation. And we here tonight demand the withdrawal of the National Guard from Los Angeles, ICE out of LA,
That's right.
and an end to attacks on workers and families. No one should have to fear being torn from their job or their home. And Local 770 commits that this worker center here will always be a space dedicated to the fight for justice for our members, for their families, and for their communities. And so I just wanted to say I'm so pleased to have the numbers of people who've shown up here that we can work together on these issues. Thank you all for being here. ¿Se puede?
Sí se puede.
¿Se puede?
Sí se puede.
¿Se puede?
Sí se puede.
Sí se puede.
Sí se puede. Sí se puede. Sí se puede. Sí se puede. Sí se puede.
Now we're going to introduce Amina Gonzalez from Refuse Fascism and Cliff Smith from Rucos 36 to talk about the United Front Against Fascism and the purpose of tonight's town hall meeting.
Hi, my name is Amina for the media. AMINA is the first name, Gonzalez, Gonzales. And I think Cliff will join me in just 1 second. But we're going to talk about fascism. What is fascism? I just want to give a list of what has happened in this past week, because sometimes you're living through history and you don't know what you're living through. In this past week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, we've seen the military come to MacArthur Park. We've seen ICE raids in Ventura, where we had one of our brothers and sisters, Jaime Garcia, who we recognized earlier, fall to his death. We've seen Alligator Alcatraz open up, which is a full-blown detention center. We have seen the revoking or the challenge of the revoking of the citizenship of someone like Zoran Mandani from New York. We saw the signing of the executive order at the beginning of this year to end birthright citizenship, and while we've seen challenges to that, the courts are not holding Trump back. We have seen the elimination of democracy. We have seen the concentration camps. We have seen even today how much is being gutted over education, over DEI. The list goes on, and we are still living under a military occupation in this city, for as much as what's being forced on us to get normalized to. So this, and the last thing, because it's so our daily existence now. We've seen our immigrant brothers and sisters being snatched up at Home Depots. We've seen our immigrant brothers and sisters being snatched up at car washes. We've seen our immigrant brothers and sisters being snatched up at the workplaces. Enough is enough. This is an emergency. And this is what we are here confronting. But it has to be stopped, because it can become too late. And more than that, we can look at history. We can look at Nazi Germany, which is actually where that name came from, of the United Front Against Fascism. I'm not going to get into all the history of that. But we've seen this history. We saw it in Pinochet in Chile. We saw it in Argentina in the 70s and 80s. This has to be stopped before it consolidates. Because once it consolidates, we are on a different trajectory that's far worse than what we've seen today. So to bring some light into the room, what's needed is collective defiance, collective non-compliance, We have to actually resist. We have to continue to be out in these streets, but we have to forge the collectivity and the networks of people who are gonna say, we're gonna stop the workplaces. We're gonna have growing networks in the neighborhoods, in the shopping districts, and all over this society where you are actually having a mass refusal from the institutions down below and all over society saying we refuse to accept a fascist America. So I'm not gonna go further on. I'm sure Cliff has a lot to say, but that's my brief introduction. I am part of refusefascism.org, and I am part of this coalition. And we all gotta come together right now and overcome all differences and unite together to stop what could be a very, very dangerous, extremely volatile situation for humanity. So those are my comments.
I want to thank everybody for taking the time to join us tonight. My name is Cliff Smith. I'm the business manager of the Roofers and Waterproofers Union, Local 36 in Los Angeles. And it's very important that we can make the time to come together and have some serious discussion, because there's a lot of work that we need to do, and there are some very talented and skilled organizers and organizations that are providing a lot of leadership, but as was said, it's not enough. We need to be organizing neighborhood by neighborhood and block by block, because the level of organization that we have and that we've been depending on is not ready to meet this moment. We need to take our own initiatives and to organize our workplaces, our places of worship, our neighborhoods. We passed out hundreds of flyers in the last week and a half, 2 weeks throughout Huntington Park to try to raise awareness to this event. And I just want to say it was very strange, because I've been in Huntington Park, I've been up and down Pacific Boulevard, I've been in this room for different events, and this is an active city. It's a lively city with a lot of life, but the last couple of weeks and days, walking the streets has been vacant. It's been a ghost town. The doors are locked to the laundromats. The hamburger joints it is empty, and it's hard to find people to. A lot of times we're just leaving flyers on the tables. So I would want to think that there's a lot of people that would have wanted to come here tonight, but don't feel safe to come out. And so we have to go and reach these people. We have a lot of organizing to do. This problem is not going to solve itself. So what I prepared is that Donald Trump has brought open class warfare into our streets. The capitalist war against the working class that was always just under the surface in the form of housing costs, private, for-profit health care, police brutality, deportations, white supremacy and patriarchy under the thin legal cover of paper democracy has now escalated into the open terrorist dictatorship of the most reactionary, most chauvinistic, and most imperialist elements of finance capital. As fascism was defined in 1935 by the Communist International, which led the historic defeat of Nazism 80 years ago. What we are seeing is not homeland security. It's body snatching, it's outside the law, it's kidnapping, the deprivation of personhood and democratic rights. And when Trump says that the homegrowns are next, he is aiming at his political opponents, including many of the people in this room. His threat to revoke citizenship means that none of us can expect protections from the government, the courts, and the law. Dr. Martin Luther King said that everything that Hitler did in Germany was legal, and Hitler had a leg up on Trump. Trump's tariffs are ratcheting up the capitalist crisis of rising costs and economic uncertainty, while he tries to export the failures of US financial policies onto other countries. His budget bill is looting the public wealth for his criminal class war against all working people. They're coming for our Social Security, Medicaid, the Post Office, the Department of Education. They are after our labor unions and community organizations. This is why the Senate Judiciary Committee is persecuting Chile, Unión del Barrio, and PSL. This is why SEIU President David Huerta is facing 6 years of federal prison, as well as our comrade from the California Faculty Association. The attacks on immigrants has always been meant to weaken the working class, to divide us by nationality and language, to confuse us about who is really taking our jobs and invading our neighborhoods. But this did not start with Trump. There are hundreds of thousands of non-citizen residents in Los Angeles County, workers, community members, who cannot even vote for their school board member or their city council member or their mayor, because the Democratic Party also wants them disenfranchised, imposing taxation without representation under a paper democracy. The assemblyman for this district, Jose Salache, and Senator Lena Gonzalez, we call on them immediately to bring proposals to the California State Constitution to amend it to allow for municipal voting rights for non-citizen residents as they have in New York City. In the city of Los Angeles, which is a charter city, the city council could put a ballot referendum up at any regular election to allow the citizens, the voters, to amend the city charter to allow for municipal voting rights for non-citizen residents. The Democratic Party cannot defeat fascism because it supports capitalism. It serves the same capitalist master. The Democrats in the Congress are still playing patty cake with the MAGA Republicans who tried to overturn Biden's election in 2020 with a violent insurrection. But at the same time, we would be far better off today organizing to fight under President Kamala Harris than what we are dealing with now, which is only the tip of the iceberg. So we cannot be led by anyone who refused to vote to defeat Trump. Trump's budget now giving $140 more billion to ICE and Homeland Security, and the recent temporary restraining order that's stopping the indiscriminate ICE attacks right now most certainly will be overturned by a Trump Supreme Court. We need immediately a united front against fascism, an anti-fascist front led by the working class to fight for people's democracy. Because as much as we hope that the courts might save us, or the Democratic Party, or the AFL-CIO, workers need to prepare our own mutual self-defense. We need to organize toward a nationwide general strike to impose people's democracy, the rule of the majority, and community control. As the movement grows and the unity of the working class strengthens, we must go further and prepare the transition from the defensive to the offensive against capital, steering toward the organization of the mass political strike. Is it possible to realize the unity of action of the working class? Yes, it is, and it is possible at this very moment. We put no conditions for unity of action except one, that the unity of action be directed against fascism, against the offensive of capital, against the threat of war, against the class enemy. This is our condition. Unity in struggle, an injury to one is an injury to all.
I'd like to introduce the Huntington Park Mayor, Arturo Flores, and also Bell Gardens Mayor, Jorgel Chavez.
Thank you. I'm gonna allow my colleague here, Mayor for the City of Bell Gardens, to go first, seeing as he is our guest. So, Jorgel, take it.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much, Mayor Flores, for this opportunity. Thank you, Juan, for inviting me to be a part of this. My name is Jorgel Chavez. I'm from the City of Bell Gardens out in Southeast Los Angeles. So we're here in our home in Cela, as we like to call ourselves. And it's been tough. As I heard the first speakers, it's important to share not only this moment that we're all going through, the unity, but really the fight that's yet to come. right? Because our communities are under attack, right? I think there's no better way to say it that our communities are under attack. We've seen it since the beginning of this last month. And even though we did get a small victory this last Friday, we already know that the Trump administration is not going to stop. And they're going to continue fighting back. And I don't know if you heard, but they just got clearance to start dismantling the Department of Education on a 6-3 vote today. Right? So they're going after our educational system, they're going after our legal brothers and sisters, they're going after our cities. I mean, it's scary times, really. It's scary times. Our residents are afraid. And us as leaders, as myself as a mayor, along with the rest of the city council, we're doing everything we can to continue to protect our residents. We made the tough decision earlier this month of canceling our 4th of July festival because we couldn't risk having an ICE raid at our festival, right? Lord forbid that our residents were going to come to try to enjoy a laser show, because that's what we do in our city. We don't do fireworks, a laser show. And as they were coming with their families to gather and have a good time, they might have left in handcuffs. So we did the difficult decision. We decided to cancel that event, and we've canceled concerts and movies throughout the rest of the month of July. We canceled it from June 24th and 28th, and then all the way to July 10th. July 10th was last week, and we decided to again continue canceling events this upcoming week and perhaps the next week as well. So we've had a couple of residents documented incidences with immigration. I've had the unfortunate circumstances of confronting ICE in 2 occasions. Myself, I told them to get out. I demanded that they shouldn't be here, that they were welcome. That they're not welcomed in Bell Gardens, they're not welcomed in Southeast LA. I told them to identify themselves. And whoever they were, they gave me a badge number, and I believe that was something, but I couldn't see the person's face. The person who identified themselves was the driver. There was also a passenger. These folks are masked individuals. We don't know if they're who they say they are. They're kidnapping our community. No questions asked, and I've had to share the unfortunate news to my residents that honestly, I think it's better if you don't have to go outside, then don't go. Right? Keep in mind, you have to be home, stay safe. Right? Our city has taken the liberty to also redirect a lot of the resources that we had for the summer. We've started the delivery services for our residents, food delivery, medication. We've been able to build that partnership. Within the first day, we had 70 residents calling for that delivery service, right? All the essentials that were important, and we're doing this all on behalf of the city. No questions asked. We communicate with them as far as, you tell us your address, we'll leave them at the door, but we don't ever even make contact because we understand the fear. That was inspiring because I saw a resident do it. It was a Familia Lopez that sort of started doing a lot of this delivery services, and within a week we were able to kind of take that task as well. So I mean, we're still evaluating the situation. This upcoming week, I've called a special city council meeting for this Wednesday in 2 days from now. We're going to be talking about immigration-related issues, immigration-related topics. There's going to be a couple items on there, one of them being immigration resolution for our city to formally make a stand in condemning these raids in our communities. So that's one. The second thing we're looking at is amending our legislative platform. A platform is this sort of tool or device or a guide that the city can use to sort of lobby and advocate for the city. One of those things that wasn't included was immigration reform. So we're going to amend that to also send letters to our representatives, not only Senator Alex Padilla and Senator Adam Schiff and our Congressman Robert Garcia, but sending it to all 435 representatives because they all need to know what's happening here in Los Angeles County and Bell Gardens. We also are exploring the flock system. That's another thing that we've noticed at our police agencies. There's been documented evidence that there has been some agencies that have been the flock system, the cameras that detect when there's like a stolen vehicle, that there's been some sort of communication with ICE, and they've been able to tap into that to sort of target communities. There was an article released by Cal Matters earlier this month, earlier in June, and they identified 6 agencies across LA County that had been cooperating and completely against SB 54 of our state, which is a sanctuary city state law. So that's another thing. So we're evaluating that system to see if our PD has done anything like that, and if they did, they're going to be held accountable. Just the same way any agency should be held accountable. The final thing we're exploring. So it's the immigration platform, the resolution, the block system, and then there was one more, but I can't remember this last one. I'm trying to remember. It's not coming to me, but I know it's gonna come back right now a little bit. But those are three big ones that we're exploring, and that's why I called that meeting, because it's super important for our cities to sort of take initiative and let our residents know that we're standing up, right? We're trying to angle it from a lot of different angles with this issue. We know that there are cities that have gotten involved with the public council lawsuit. I personally support the lawsuit, so that's my position and my capacity, and I advocate that all cities should join that as well, because it's important that in this moment we are all united together, because it's power in numbers, really, right? We have 88 jurisdictions, 88 cities across LA County, plus counting the county of Los Angeles, that have stepped up to really demand change, to demand that the federal government be held accountable, and we're really relying on the judicial branch to do its part, because what we're seeing is a complete takeover of authority on our cities, right? There's only so much we can do, and it's cruel that my number one priority is public safety. That's like my number one, that I want to make sure that my residents feel safe when they walk the street, when they go to the grocery store, when they go to the parks. And the fact that people can't feel that way is extremely frustrating. And it's just, I mean, we've seen it all here in Southeast LA. We've been through so much. We've been way goddamn much. And honestly, like, this is completely unacceptable, and it pisses me off, because our hands are tied. So we gotta take it to the courts, and we gotta demand justice, and we gotta hold these people accountable. And we're not gonna stop, and if we have to continually go out there and make noise and chant and protest and rally, we're gonna be out there, right? My day job, I'm a political organizer. I work with the SEIU, UFCW, so by all means, when you mention our president, it's very important to me too. We represent 50,000 members statewide. You know, these are members that are custodian workers, that are janitors, these are workers that are airport workers, these are workers that are security guard workers. They feel scared too, right? So it's important that we all stand up for them, right? And they're under attack too. So we're gonna continue being in this fight, and I just wanna again thank you for this opportunity. This is important. We need to be having these conversations right now, because if it's not complete, like we say, complicity is buying into this, and we're not gonna be complicit. We're not gonna let this happen, and we're gonna continue being a spokesperson for our communities. So again, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm gonna see if I remember the fourth thing.
Yeah. Another applause to Jorgel. I also want to give a special shout out to Elizabeth Alcantar. Can you please stand up? One of our leaders in the city, Chavez. You guys might not know this, but Caceres was one of the first cities that designated themselves as a sanctuary city in the southeast. So let's make sure we give Caceres a huge round of applause. Sound muffled. Thank you. So I just want to give a recognition to my colleagues, mayors. It's a beautiful moment. My name is Arturo Flores. I'm the mayor for the city, beautiful city of Huntington Park. I want you guys to repeat after me. Chinga la migra.
Chinga la migra.
Oh, come on, really? Chinga la migra.
Chinga la migra.
Chinga la migra.
Chinga la migra.
Does anybody know what that means in English? What does it mean in English?
Fuck ice.
Fuck ice!
Fuck ice.
Fuck ice!
Fuck ice.
Now isn't that crazy? The mayor for the city of Huntington Park saying fuck ice. Do you know how many people are going to be offended and outraged about the words I said? But you know what doesn't offend them? You know what they're not outraged about? The human rights violations, the violations of constitutional rights, people being singled out and targeted by the color of their skin, or because they talk with an accent. My name is Arturo Flores. I'm the mayor for the city of Huntington Park. You can call me Jose Flores if you want. That's my grandfather's name, by the way. I carry that like a badge of honor. So you want to call Alex Padilla, Jose Padilla all day, by all means, go ahead. Let me tell you what we've been dealing with in Huntington Park.
because I know some of my neighbors have been dealing with it. We had one resident, right, a family living in Huntington Park, that we had the director of Homeland Security, Chrissy Nome, come to one of our blocks to film a propaganda video and to partake in a raid for a 4-month pregnant woman and her kids. No arrests made. California Highway Patrol vehicles were part of that operation. You don't believe me? Go look at my Instagram. The pictures are there. I thought we had SB 54. I thought the state of California was not supposed to help. Well, maybe CHP didn't get the memo because there was a motorcade, 6 motorcycles. And then when you look at the video, there's an actual CHP vehicle that's in my city, in my block, and it's very much a part of whatever that operation was. So I'm very confused as to what's going on in the state of California. I guess we can follow and not follow the laws that we want, right? So let me tell you what I'm gonna do in the city of Huntington Park. I'm gonna draft up an ordinance because Donald Trump and his administration, they wanna disempower, they wanna take power away, they wanna make us feel defeated. And so you know what we're gonna do in Huntington Park? We're gonna do the opposite. I don't want things to go back to normal. Normal's not enough. Normal was a bare minimum. Normal was lip service. Normal was false promises. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna draft up an ordinance in my city that's gonna allow residents to vote in civil elections, in city council elections. How about that? But Arturo, the Constitution of the state of California doesn't allow that. Well, you didn't just hear SB 54. I guess we can follow that whenever we want and then ignore it whenever we want. So I guess if anybody in California has a problem with it, maybe they can partner up with Donald Trump and then sue the city of Huntington Park. How about that? How's that for action?
There you go.
Right? So you guys want normal or what do you guys want?
It's democracy.
Do we want normal or do we want more?
Democracy.
We want what? Normal or we want what? More! Exactly. We want more and we should be demanding more from our leaders at a bare minimum. That was one story. Let me tell you another story about what happened in my city. Because I'm pissed off. I am pissed off. I mean, you have no idea. I fought 2 wars for this country. One in Iraq and one in Afghanistan. I was a military police officer and my job, I was a bomb dog handler. My job was to find bombs. At some point they said, Arturo, how did you do it? You know how I did it? I had to come to terms that there was a good chance that I had either get my legs blown off or not come home or come home in a box. At 18 years old, 19 years old, I said, there's a good chance I'm gonna get my legs blown off or I'm gonna die for this country. And I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed of what I'm seeing. I'm ashamed at how they're trampling on the Constitution of the United States. I'm ashamed that my sister-in-law got a call from the tamalera and said her husband got picked up. They give him food and water 12 hours a day. They have them all in boxers. 70 people per cage. 4 people have died since he's got there. What the fuck? 4 people have died. They're picking up seniors that need high blood pressure medication, or medication for their heart problems, or medication that they're not getting that. A woman that was 5 months pregnant lost her child because they did not give her medical care. I'm sorry. Whoever is running this operation is incompetent, and they know exactly what they're doing.
That's right.
And they understood that they were not capable of taking in thousands of people to be able to give them food, shelter, basic decency of when you take a human's liberty, right? A human being's liberty, you put him in a cage, the basic, use a restroom, shower, food, medical care. So I don't know what you want to call that, but I call that murder. Let me tell you my second story. I have a family that was in the city of Bell that got into a car accident, a fender bender, right? There was some type of enforcement opportunity that was happening. They got into a car accident. The ICE agents put the truck in reverse and then rammed the Jeep. If you guys know how Jeep works, there's a hook in the front. It gets stuck to the bumper of the truck. The truck ends up 2 axles on top. Obviously, they couldn't get unstuck. They stay there for 30, 40 minutes, an hour. The people come out, and what do the people do in Bell? They fought for our people. They fought for the people, right? A round of applause for that. The city of Bell ran out the federal government out of their city, and they embarrassed them. Let me say that one more time. The city of Bell embarrassed the United States federal government. Now let me tell you something about the United States of America. They don't forget. They don't forget. They have a good memory of an elephant. And they're going to get their revenge. And it's unfortunate that a family in my city who had their 1-year-old child in their car was terrified when this happened. They just jumped out, tried to break their window, and then a week goes by and they put in a claim, which they have every right to do. They put in a claim to fix their property, the damage that was done to their property. And 3 days after that, what does the United States government do? They blow their fucking door off with a shake charge. If you don't know what a shake charge is, it's a strip of C4. At 7:30 in the morning, they show up in the city of Huntington Park and blow their door off. And then they shoot a drone through their window and flashbang the house. And the only person that's home is Jenny, her 6-year-old, and her 1-year-old. That's what we're talking about here. That's what we're talking about. But guess what? People are still more outraged that the mayor for the city of Huntington Park was using profanity. Oh my God. Using profanity. I leave you with this message. Trump's administration, they want to disempower us. They can't do that because we're going to empower each other. And it's going to start at the local level. And it'll start with Huntington Park. And if we have to go fight the state on it, whether it's a Senate or Assembly or Newsom himself, fine. We'll do that. Like I said, they can partner up with Trump and they can sue the city of Huntington Park if that's how they feel about it. But we're going to support our residents. And we're going to give our people a voice. Say that with me. Give the people a what?
Voice.
A voice. Give the people a what?
Voice.
Give the people a what?
Voice.
Exactly. And that's the bare minimum. At the bare minimum of what we can do as leaders is give our people a voice. And people can be as outraged as you want. But guess what? If you're in my city, if you eat here, sleep here, shit here, the least that you could do is have a voice and vote. And decide on who are going to be your leaders. And decide on how your community looks like. You already pay taxes. You already started a business. You already raised a family here. Your kids are already 25, 35. Your kids already have kids, right? You have grandkids. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about families that are God-fearing American families. So I don't care what the narrative is on how you try to take the humanity away from my people, how you try to demonize my people. I know my community. I know my people. 77% of the people that they're arresting have no criminal record.
That's right.
And that's a fact. All right? So, just to dial it back, I do want to apologize if I offended anybody in the room for using profanity, but I want you guys to understand what's at stake here. Where the Trump administration seeks to disempower us, we need to empower. Where they seek to spread misinformation, we need to make sure we're enlightening our community. Where they seek to rob us of constitutional rights, we need to make sure that we educate our residents so they can double down on the rights that they have on the Constitution. And the human rights part of it, I'm gonna leave you guys with this. That's justice delayed. Because there's gonna come a time where Trump is no longer president. And you're gonna see the congressional hearings in the news. And all of those agents, all of those directors, they're gonna have to come forward and answer for every human rights violation that they did. For every constitutional rights that they violated. For every death that they caused from their direct or indirect actions, they're going to have to answer to it. So with that being said, I leave you guys with the message of hope. The way that we beat this back, the way that we overcome is the way we've done it for the past 500 years. Because guess what? We've been here and we ain't going nowhere. And this is by us staying together, staying united, and taking care of each other, all right? Community. Unity, right? That's the most important word in community is unity. Stay together, stay united, check on your neighbors. Yes, we have our programs that will make sure that we elevate, but at the ground level, it's us, it's on us. We got to take care of each other. Thank you guys so much. Arturo, Flores, Mayor, for the city of Huntington Park. You guys have a good night.
remember the fourth thing, everybody. Took me a while, but we got it. The fourth thing is a FOIA. For those that don't know, a FOIA is basically like the PRA here in California, public records request, but at the federal level. With that, we're going to submit it from the beginning of June, or whenever they were present in Bell Gardens, all the way into present day to identify how many of our residents have been taken, because there is no accountability as far as we don't know where they are, we don't know their information, we don't even know the exact count. All we know is just some videos that we've seen. So that's going to be the fourth thing, the FOIA. So the legislative platform, the FOIA, the resolution, and now I forgot the other. What was it? Did anybody remember? Immigration report. No, that was the whole. Oh yeah, the message to all the congressmen, to all the 435, sending them the letter. All right, everybody, thank you so much again for being.
So folks, we're running a little bit late in time, but do you mind? No. We have an addition to the agenda, a most welcome addition to the agenda. I'd like to introduce Luis Ángel Castañeda of the Mexican Consulate.
Thank you very much, Juan. Let me start by saying that I was not supposed to be here. I was not on the schedule. It was a last-minute addition. Let me tell you a little bit how this came to fruition. Every Monday morning at the Mexican Consulate, we hold our own town hall meeting. We call it Audiencia Pública, where the Consul General sits and talks with the community and shares relevant information. And this morning, at our Audiencia Pública, two members of our community, Rafael Muñoz, I don't know if he left, and Marta Garcia, both good friends of the consulate, mentioned this event and said, hey, we think it's important that the consulate shows up and that people know what the consulate is doing. So we accepted the invitation. I talked with Jorgel Chavez, mayor of Bell Gardens, that we know very well, and I said, hey, you know what, I know this is an event we're attending. A member of our community is suggesting we should attend, and Jorgel very kindly asked Juan if it was okay for me to speak for a few minutes. And I think it's important to take this opportunity to share with you what the consulate has been doing for the past month, to explain a little bit what our role is with all the events that have been taking place in Los Angeles during the last month, and for you to help us spread the word about the work that we're doing. So the consulate's job it's twofold with regards to what's happening. I'm not going to talk about issuing passports or matriculas or dual citizenship. We can talk about that at another occasion. I'm going to talk about what we do with regards to immigration rates, with regards to people who are detained by immigration. I said it's twofold. On one hand is education and prevention. So we do the audiencias públicas. We also do Know Your Rights workshops. We go to community meetings to inform, educate, and empower our community so that they know the rights they have, so that they know what to do, because we believe that information is power. We understand that people are afraid, and that fear, the best weapon against fear is information. If you're informed, you're able to make better decisions, and to stand your ground and to know what the best course of action for you is. So education and prevention is a big aspect, and we have been very active also on the media. The Consul General himself has been very active. Almost every day he's having interviews with the media, both in Spanish and in English. We're very active on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, on X, because we believe it's important to be out there for people to know. We're constantly informing the community. The Consul General has been making these short videos saying what's going on, the information that we know. We make sure that it's information that is verified. We do not spread rumors or speculations. We encourage people to verify information before they share it, because rumors or speculations also feed anxiety and fear, and we don't need that. We need for people to be informed accurately. And the other part of what we do is actually assisting Mexican nationals who have been detained by immigration. As you know, as representatives of a foreign government, we are entitled to enter detention facilities, either temporary immigration detention facilities like B-18, or even county, state, or federal prisons to interview any Mexican nationals who are there. This is a very important privilege that we have as consuls of a foreign country, because we're able to access the facility with members of our staff go to B-18 twice a day, every day, now including weekends also since June 6th, to interview all Mexican nationals who are detained. And you might wonder, well, why do you interview them? What's the purpose? Well, first of all, we want to make sure that they are all right, that they are physically, their health is all right, that if they have any special needs, for instance, let's say someone's diabetic or needs some kind of medication, we want to make sure that we mediate with the authorities and let them know, hey, this individual needs a medication that he's not getting, or so that we make sure that they get the medication or the treatment or whatever it is they need. We also are a liaison between themselves and their relatives, either here or back in Mexico, so that we can communicate and help them tell their families where they are, how they're doing, what their situation is, what their legal situation is, and keep them informed of how the case is evolving. We also make sure that that their rights are respected, that they get a right to due process, that they have access to an attorney. We can provide an attorney. We have contracts with several law firms that we have in retainer at the consulate, more than 10 law firms, most of them on immigration. So we can provide that legal assistance for people who need it, for people who want to have their day in court and fight their case against an immigration judge. We can provide them with that legal backup and orientation. So it's a very important work, because sometimes timely intervention from the consulate can make a difference between someone learning that they might have a chance to win a case against before an immigration judge and stay here with their family if they have children who were born here, if they have a spouse who's a U.S. citizen, if they lived here for more than 10 years, or being deported and separated from their families. So if you could help us, let the community know that if themselves or someone in their family is detained, if they're a Mexican national, they can ask for their consulate to visit them and to interview. Now, we can only interview Mexican nationals, so if there are individuals from other countries, we cannot provide them assistance, but their own consulates should be able to do that. And just to finish and to give you a little overview of what we have been seeing from June 6th to July 6th, the 1 month since this immigration crackdown started, we have been able to effectively interview 330 Mexican nationals at B-18. I'm not saying that's all the universe of people who have been detained. Of course, there's more than that. People from other nationalities, people who have been transferred to other detention facilities like Adelanto and even in other states. This is just the people that we have interviewed at B-18, 330. And let me give you a couple of statistics, and I'm going to say let that sink in. Of those people, more than half have more than 10 years living in the US. Some of them more than 30 years, and 2 of them more than 40 years. At least 30% of them have children who were born in the US. And they all were hardworking people. 16% of them car wash workers, 13% construction workers, another 13% factory workers, 11% landscape workers, among others. So just to give you an idea of who it is that these people, who it is that have been detained, is hardworking people, most of them with deep roots in this community, who have integrated into this community, who have been contributing to the prosperity of this society with their work. And so we just wanted to share that information with you, so you know a little bit what we have been seeing, and we're going to keep doing it because we think this is very important. If you know of any community meetings or Know Your Rights workshops, let us know. We're more than glad to participate, just like tonight. Thank you very much, Juan.
Allow me to introduce UCLA Elementary Vice President Maria Miranda.
Hello everyone, Maria Miranda, Elementary Vice President and Point Officer in the Union's immigration work. I actually grew up in the surrounding neighborhood here in the small city of Florence Firestone, and Huntington Park was my backyard. This is where we came shopping and for fun. When I was a kid, I lived in the city of Southgate for a few years while I was in high school and then attending college. And then we went back. My parents currently live in the city of Florence Firestone, so we're back in where I grew up. I've taught for 23 years. 21 in the classroom, 2 years as a community school coordinator in the district. I would say that I came back to the community as an educator because I saw myself in my students and my parents in their parents. And I'm very proud of the community that I work with. I'm very proud of the parents that I work with, because I see in every school site how parents come together and organize to make sure that their children have the best access to an education possible, to improve the schools, to work together with educators to improve those schools. So currently I'm seeing that our community is coming together in that same way, that there's so much love in this community and for our students and for their families. And I see how everyone's coming together and defending the community. UTLA's program on this immigration work started in November. We started prepping because we didn't know what the elections were going to turn out to be. We started prepping in November. As soon as we knew the election results, our immigration justice team went full force. We worked through our winter break, and by January, we had our first workshops that were geared to our chapter leaders. So every school site has a union leader, and I want to make sure that everyone here knows that if you have any question on what the union is doing or you need any support from anyone, you need to ask for the chapter chair at your school site. These are the folks that hear the message from UTLA and know what resources are available for our students and our families, and they know that who to reach out to so that we can push the district to do the right thing. So if anyone needs support in your community, that's how you would be able to find some support. We started with workshops for chapter leaders, and then Know Your Rights workshops. We also began, we had our psychiatric social workers come in and give a workshop in terms of how this was impacting students, and how families could support and how other educators could support. So that was one of the low-hanging fruit message that we needed to make sure. We looked at the district policy, and we tried to decipher all those multiple pages of what it really meant. And we put together a program that our teachers could look at and follow, and how to hold administration accountable in terms of what were the protocols. If an ICE agent were to show up to our schools, what would happen? What would our teachers do? What would we expect the district to do? And luckily, by the time that immigration enforcement did try to enter our schools, both in the city of Florence Firestone, actually, at Russell Elementary and Lytton Elementary, they were stopped. The schools followed protocols and they were turned away. So that was the first sign for us to know that we did the right thing in preparing for this. Yes. I want to say that many folks, when I was approaching them and saying like, we need to plan, they're like, no, we don't think it's gonna be that bad. And it's like, did we forget the first term? Did we forget when kids were in cages? I was a kindergarten teacher during that time. And I had a mom who would come in every day to pick up her child, and she was wearing an ankle bracelet. I had her daughter break down during a math workshop because she was telling me, I was checking in on her and asking her how she was doing, and just break down and say that they take their children from them at the border. And I had to bite my lip and turn away so that she wouldn't see tears roll down my face. This was a 5-year-old recounting her experience at the border. But I think some folks forget that our children were in cages, that families were separated. So we knew this was coming, right? Those of us who are close to the issue, we knew something like this was going to happen, that there was going to be a lot of cruelty in the way that this administration was going to handle immigration enforcement. Other things that we've done is we've set up a campaign to make sure that our students felt safe. So we have posters at school sites, we have buttons, we've passed out red cards, we've done leafleting. There's a leafleting that UTLA put together out there with the support of many of our coalition partners, Chief Lacares and the like. We've had citizenship clinics. Like I said, we've partnered with the coalition, and we actively have trained our members to be part of the rapid response team. So just like there are multiple people here who are elected and community members who are part of the rapid response team, UTLA has a lot of educators out there as well. You may not know that we're teachers, but we're out there as well, making sure that our communities are being respected, and we're documenting the violations that are occurring. And we know that there are multiple violations that are occurring right now when folks are being stopped. And really, at first I thought the word kidnap was a little harsh. No, they are kidnapping our community members, and they're tearing our families apart. So we need to continue to train folks. Currently, we are getting ready. We have a meeting actually tomorrow to try and figure out what's the next the plan. Because we know our families are afraid to come to school. How are we gonna handle that? We don't know what our classrooms are going to look like when we step into our classrooms the first day of school. We don't know how many kids are not going to be accompanied by their parents on the first day. We don't know how many empty seats we're gonna have and how many phone calls we're gonna have to make to find our students. Now, the district does have a virtual academy available to students who are too afraid to show up. But that's not what our students are used to. That's not how the type of education that they're used to. And we want to ensure that every child does receive an education. So we know that the federal government is purposely, right, defunding our schools because of the population that we serve. And we need to make sure that we also push back on that. So again, this is a clear attack on public education because of the success that our communities do have when they access this public education. I want to also talk about the demands that we have for the district. We are asking for supports for our students and their families, legal supports for our students and their families. We're also asking that our educators who are documented, who are serving in the classrooms, who grew up in these communities and are now serving our families, that they also have some protections. Because we know that there are at least 400 employees in the district that are either DACA recipients or TPS recipients, and we need to make sure that there's protections for them as well, because our students rely on these educators as well, and they see themselves in these educators. So it's a great thing that we have that. I'll end with saying that we want to make sure that you all know that teachers may seem calm and mellow, and we're there to try, and especially the red chair, right? We're there to try and encourage students to pursue their dreams. But I want you to know that we're also fighters. When we see our students at risk, and you've seen this in the news, If we're willing to take a bullet for our students, we're gonna be willing to put up a fight for our students. And we need to communicate in a way that is respectful and that you feel comfortable doing it, but please talk to the educators. Reach out to us and let us know what you need. Because the only way that we're gonna be able to help is if we know that your family needs food, that your family needs help with rent, that your family, what are the needs of your students? I will tell you the last thing. Our community school team at UTLA is working with the community school team in LAUSD right now to ensure that families have access to food. We don't have a big program on it. We don't want to disclose any information, but currently we have community schools who are working on ensuring that our families and the kids have meals on the table. So if you have any need, make sure you communicate that with the educators because they'll make sure to find resources for you. So thank you again for being here tonight. I was happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Let me introduce Huntington Park activist Jas Lo.
So happy to see teachers in here, by the way. It's very inspiring. But nonetheless, hola, buenas noches. My name is Jas, a resident of Southeast LA, because we are one. Today, I'm showing up as a community member, myself amongst other Southeast LA mujeres from California Latinas for Reproductive Justice Network are currently having a very challenging time, just like most of our community members, right, here in the Southeast. Briefly, California Latinas for Reproductive Justice is a statewide policy and advocacy organization whose mission is to advance California Latinas' reproductive health and rights with a social justice and human rights framework. So what we've noticed and what we've experienced personally so far, compliments of ICE and those masquerading as such, the lack of access to health care. This is extremely problematic, especially in our heavily polluted community. For my father to think twice about leaving his house because he needs to see his cardiologist, because he's not feeling well. Mind you, he's a resident. For our mujeres not to get the pending breast exam because they have no insurance and allow it to linger, I feel it's quite literally criminal, wouldn't you think? Sorry, I just lost a friend to breast cancer. For our youth to think twice about going to school and getting the health care they so much need due to their very active STD symptoms. I can't go on and on. One thing I do know, we gotta get these predators that are also raping our mujeres out of our communities now. As part of the Community Self-Defense Coalition, I invite everyone in here who can patrol residentes to hit the streets with me, with us. Because we're not going to wait for them to come for us. ¿Y saben por qué? Porque solo el pueblo salva el pueblo. Quick shout out to my compañeros and compañeras from Unión del Barrio, fighting the good fight. Buenas noches y muchas gracias. And don't forget to boycott Home Depot. Right. Raza sí, ice no.
Let me introduce Felipe Caceres from SEIU, 721.
All right, thank you, Juan. I'm going to do my best. My name's Felipe Caceres. I'm with SEIU Local 721, as well as our SEIU International Latino Caucus. I'm the Western Region Chair. I'm only saying that to make sure folks understand, like, both organizations are very supportive of what we're trying to do, but what I'm gonna do this evening, and many folks I've worked with on our Summer of Resistance, so I'm gonna do a call to action after my Know Your Rights training, because you can't get me on the mic and not do a call to action. But I am going to start with grounding us in what a lot of folks here know, right? Which is a reality that we face every single day here, which is we have a federal government that is not respecting our constitutional rights every single day. But that doesn't mean that residents here, and you heard from political figures here in Cela, right, that are ready to fight for constitutional rights for residents, that doesn't mean that every resident in Cela doesn't have constitutional rights. So we have constitutional rights every single day in this country, regardless of what the military or the federal government say. So I want to give some folks some very simple information that they can share, and I want everyone to pull out their cell phone, and I want you to look up what the red card is. Our compañeros have talked about the Know Your Rights card. There's nothing else you need to know about the Constitution than what's on that red card. I want us all to understand that we need to ground ourselves in the facts, that we already know what we can defend ourselves with. So first and foremost, you have the right to remain silent. That means when immigration asks you a question, you have the right to an attorney. You have the right to say that you want to talk to your attorney or say nothing. All you have to do, if you have been detained and you are already arrested and you are already sitting down talking to somebody, is when you have to give identification to an agent. Before then, you do not have to give any information to anybody. You have the right to walk away from somebody who is asking you a question that has not identified themselves. The reason I'm going last is because we want to make sure we understand the real world examples that are happening right now. Every single day. It's not complicated what's happening. They're breaking the law every single day. That's why we all need to know, right, that we do not sign anything before we talk to an attorney, or we talk to somebody from Immigrant Defenders, or we have called the Chirla hotline, or we call the Caceres hotline, or we call, si son Mexicano, or we call the Mexican consulate. And you know what? In Los Angeles, every country in Latin America has a consulate. And we need to hold them to the same standards that the Mexican consulate is setting, right? So we do not sign anything. Do not sign anything. You do not have to sign anything. I'm harping on this point because there's very simple points that we have to get out as quickly as possible in order to know our rights. The mayor of Bell Gardens is out there every night and every day that he can be. I know because I worked with him as a fast food organizer before he worked for UFCW. He's an organizer. He's out there every day reading the red card very simply. The spokes agents have to identify themselves. We do not sign anything. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney. And the last thing that's not on the red card, the reason you came here tonight, and the reason I'm doing this is this last step. The step that we can't tell everybody about, but we're trying to, right? Is you need to call Immigrant Defenders. You need to call the Rapid Response Network. Why? Because there's something else that we have in America. In that Constitution, we have, and since the mayor said it, I can say we have fucking bail. We have the right to a hearing, okay? And what we want is a hearing. Why? Because every single day they're breaking the Constitution. And there's not a judge that will actually sign a detainer to send somebody away. Okay, because if you didn't sign it, and you called your lawyer, or you called one of the compañeros, call your union, call your teacher, like the compañera Maria said, call the grocery store clerk that you know, talk to them, or UFCW member, call to the consulate, call one of the crossing guards, our Teamsters brothers and sisters out there who work for the city. Call somebody. Why? Because then we can get you a bail hearing. Somebody can get you bail hearing, and we can get you home. And then we can start to really fight. But until we show folks that we know that we have a constitution, every single day we don't sign it. We video record. We have the right to record. Law enforcement, especially when people who are unidentified start snatching people off the street. We have every right to say, who are you? Why are you in my community? Because who keeps us safe?
We keep us safe.
Who keeps us safe?
We keep us
So
safe.
we do not sign anything. We do not answer their questions. They are breaking the law. ICE, DHS, the military police, the Marines, they are breaking the law every single day. What we do is the most American thing that you can do. That's why the Huntington Park mayor and many other of our elected officials are adamant about the status. Doesn't matter if you're a resident and you have a right to vote. Because we have rights in this country. You don't sign the documents until you see a lawyer. I know I've said this like 10 times. This is the whole training. This is not complicated. They are not doing anything special. Let's forget about that. They are bullies and they are breaking the law. That's it. They got shiny guns, they got their little samurai horses, cute. But nothing's different. From the Bracero program, to the Chinese Exclusionary Act, to kidnapping today, all were against the Constitution. To the children in cages, all against the Constitution. What do we have though, is our rights. What do we have? Our right to organize, our right to assemble. We have those rights. That's what folks heard about, right? We're organizing. There's a summer of resistance that started that's going to continue on, right? But we have to every single day let folks know this basic fact. You do not have to answer questions in this country from somebody who does not identify themselves. You have a right to a lawyer in this country. And when you commit a crime, you have a right to a bail hearing. And you know what that means? That means you have a right to come home and defend yourself. And who keeps us safe?
We keep us safe.
Who keeps us safe?
We keep us safe.
So you get a right to keep yourself safe in your community. Because when our folks get kidnapped every single day and they don't sign these letters, and they get to a lawyer, and they make sure that they get out on bail, what happens is like what happened to our brother John from CFA, is that when you exercise your constitutional rights in this country, sometimes you may have to spend a night in jail, because sometimes the politicians aren't on our side. Not all the time. But if you follow the law, just like we're saying, you don't sign it. You don't have to answer. You don't have to open the door. You can call somebody to ask them what that warrant says before you open that door. I don't care if you've spoken the King's English your whole life. That's your goddamn right as an American. And every single one of us are Americans, whether they want to admit it or not. Okay? That's why, because we know our rights. Now I'm going to open this up. I am going to preface this. I am a street lawyer. I went to law school, but I am not a practicing lawyer. The reason I do this is because I can answer a lot of street lawyer questions, which are questions about the reality of making sure that you can get an attorney and how you can do that. Okay, but I want to open it up because I know folks probably have some questions about what's been going on, what folks' rights are, right? What it looks like on the day-to-day. So that's the whole point of this town hall, and the whole point we bring people together. So feel free to walk around, brother. Anybody have any questions? Raise your hand. There's no way my training was that straightforward. You got a bunch of experts. How many people, raise your hand if you signed up for the Rapid Response Network already? Okay. If your hand is not up, there is a training this week, I guarantee you. So you need to connect with somebody right now because you need to train. Why? Because you live and work somewhere. Okay? Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Hi. I have a question. So how can any of this like protect like businesses or like folks in public places as well, and like non-public places, and what's like the difference between that?
That's a great question. So for businesses, right, many small businesses have been, first and foremost, I think small businesses need to hold meetings and let their teams know that they support them and that they support their rights to be here and that they can do a training just very similar but more employee-based for the work site. First and foremost, it's private property. Any small business, any business is private property. My brother Cliff was talking about earlier some of the panaderias and some of the burger joints, right? The reason the burger joints are kind of a little more tenuous and folks aren't in there and the panaderias are still really packed is because you gotta buzz people in and they got a security system, right? That's your right as a small business owner. That's something that you can do to protect not only your employees, you find out something's going on. Let's say Brother Cliff's running down and he lets you know that the Rapid Response Network, they know ICE is 2 blocks away. You can bring all your employees into your business and you can lock your business, and that's a private business, right? You can shut that business and the owner can do that. The owner can do that. What did our brothers and sisters and siblings at UTLA win us with the district? Working with the district was making sure that there's a protocol that the principal has and that the teachers enforce to make sure that the students are safe, and then they call and they shut down that school and they make sure those kids are safe. They're not armed, you know, we're never armed, but we keep us safe. That a private business can do that. They can also make sure, and this is something that many businesses have been doing, is how do your workers get home? How do your workers get home? Folks are feeling very unsafe. Start talking to them about a safe plan, how folks are getting home, because people still have to work. Sister right here, and then brother.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
So I've been to my city council meetings for the city I reside in. I've been asking council and I've been asking our local PD to take a stance against the operations that have been taking place. And they automatically shut it down by saying that they can't do anything because that's impeding with a federal operation. But what baffles me is that when you have cities like Bell Gardens and you have cities like Huntington Park where the elected officials are protecting its people, how can I put pressure on my council and my PD to make sure that they're not working with ICE and that they're denouncing the practices of having these federal agents kidnap our handed from the streets? That's one. And then number two is, you mentioned about people not having to say who they are unless the person trying to detain them or kidnap them. I mean, it's not even a detainment, it's a kidnapping, abduction, where we're asking them to identify themselves so we could post it on social media to get in contact with the families. Is that a safe practice?
So let me take the second question first, because I think I'm more of an expert in that one, which is, that is a safe practice to make sure that we can identify folks. Once folks have been detained, what I'm trying to just make sure and emphasize is as safely as you can to try not to get detained. right? Just like I was telling the compañera about businesses, right? We're a non-violent movement, right? So folks are going to make sure that we're safe. But yes, that is a common practice. I mean, it was our brothers and sisters and siblings at CFA were at the at B18 at the Federal Detention Center yesterday, and it was an absolute miracle to witness a compañero who came there, who was looking for his son, who they were then saying the names, because that's the only way that they could get into B18 and get the information in order to say the son's name over the loudspeaker, so that they could then verify that he was in B18, because they had no idea he'd been kidnapped 3 days before, and they didn't know where he was. So yes, it is a safe practice as best you can. But again, not to actively, there's no need to give again everything. You have the right to remain silent. There's no need to actively get out, in that way. And what city are we talking about?
I'm gonna put it on blast for the city of Bell.
Bell? Okay, I don't, I'm not gonna, okay. I'll do this one, Rucos, so that you don't get in trouble. All right, we're encouraging everyone in Los Angeles County, right, to make every attempt and ability to lead on this issue. And I think you saw some leaders up here. You've seen some leaders across Southern California, right? What leadership looks like is directing the police department that you oversee to do the work that you tell them to do. That's kind of your job as an executive, right? And there's many, I think, charter cities and non-charter cities that have passed some sanctuary ordinances and protections that you could probably look at.
We don't even we're a charter city, but we're not a sanctuary city. But I think right now with everything that's happening, it's more of, for me, I'm US born, but I worry about my community. And honestly, like I've said before, the community backs up the community, but I don't want my tax-paying dollars to go to a department that's helping ICE kidnap people from the streets.
I don't think you're gonna get any opposition here. I'm just trying to, as best I can, give the city of Bell an opportunity over the next week and a half to address that if they want to, if they're watching. Keep pushing. You may find some partners here. Anybody want to push Bell, talk to the sister here. Again, there are some local protections. Mayor Bass did join, I like to joke that Mayor Bass finally joined the Rapid Response Network, right? She went down to MacArthur Park and saw it, right? We've been asking her to get down there. We've been asking her to do an executive director. But that's what it looks like. You got to push politicians. I feel like I know we put some politicians up here. Some of them are they're doing okay. But okay, in leadership, we got to do more. We got to challenge everybody, right? Because our Constitution, why am I here on a Monday talking about the American Constitution? Because it's under attack, all right? It's under attack. I want to make sure, any other questions about the Know Your Rights piece of this? As you can see, my street lawyer ability is there. I can answer some questions. Yeah.
For the community that is more specifically those that have multiple disabilities and one being ASL, what we found is that some of that community in particular, there's really no support, right? Specifically in this community, we have a strong community special education children and chingona moms that are willing to come through, but the thing is nobody's reaching out because they just can't due to circumstance. So I would love for there to be efforts in respect to bringing that information to that community specifically, because they're in living conditions of a lot of help.
I think that would be great. We would maybe connect with folks and make sure that we bring in that piece. Yeah. Absolutely, because that's something that a community that definitely, I know at the immigration court especially, they have some of that, but it's not as widespread. Yeah.
Hi, my only question is, how do people go about when they don't feel safe in their own workplace? You know how you say that your employer can say there's a private property.
But your employer's an asshole, I get it.
I'm from a union, you know, it's a union hall, you don't have to say your employer's a fucking asshole. It's cool, nobody put her on blast.
But not only like, you know, like.
Yeah, you know, like they're an asshole. Okay, I got you.
All right, so what you want to do is you want to call a meeting outside of that and first get yourself a union if you don't have one. Okay, good. You're a 770 member. Okay, cool. Yeah, so for your ununionized folks, other folks, this is the kind of forum that if there's enough people, you want to do a town hall because you got to get folks that information first and foremost. But like, what are you telling folks when you think the employer might call immigration, right? They're scared the employer might call immigration. What you're gonna do, and this is, I get it, it's weird to become an American and wrap yourself in the Constitution. I get the weirdness, don't worry. We're gonna get there, right? But you're gonna say, we have rights in this country. And you're in a union, and you're organizing to fight for your rights. And one of the most fundamental rights in this Constitution is the right to association, right? And so you have a right to associate with anybody you want, you have a right to talk to anybody you want, so you can talk about knowing your rights all the time. You have an employer that wants to retaliate against you for that, man, you got a union that'll defend you to the end of time. And if folks actually start targeting in that way, I believe it was one of our politicians that came up here that was like, you know, there's gonna be committees that will come up, there's gonna be oversight committees. Just like I told you guys, there's a long-standing tradition of constitutional rights being upheld, but then fought for, and some people have to go to jail to fight for them, right? There's also been a long-standing American tradition of congressional committees and oversight for constitutional wrongs, where then we're gonna look into that. So if there are employers that are starting to collaborate with ICE, that's something that we can call on Congress people to investigate in the next Congress. If there are other folks that are collaborating with ICE, like our local law enforcement, right? We can call on Congress for oversight and to investigate that. Our mayor of Bell Gardens was talking about a FOIA. The reason it's so damn important for that information right now is because when we get Congress and we can hold and we ask the governor for oversight, you know, the governor hasn't come down here to B18. I wonder if they deny the governor, right? When we ask for these committees and these commissions, right, we're gonna have to investigate these folks. And I'm telling you all this, this is a long-winded way of telling you so that you understand and everybody here understands. We're gonna remember. And they know that too. The employers know that too, and they know they're losing here in California every single day. So they know that too. So let them try. Let the employers try. It's against the law. They're putting themselves up for a lot of liability. A lot of liability. And that's what you have to tell folks is look at that building we work at. Like, you think they're gonna put that whole thing up just to pick on you? No, they're just like the anti-union shit, man. They're just against us. They never liked us to begin with. It's okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I had my name is Fernando, I'm with Los Rucos. Yeah, I had a question as far as changing part of the narrative, because I know part of the attack is on the individual, and you know, they're brothers and sisters that are family and that have built the city. How do we change the narrative so we give credence and validity, we quantify and qualify all the labor, all the products that our gente produces, and use that and say, you know what, this is capital that has built this effing country. And you know, I think we need to give it legs, give it personify it, give it legal representation and say, you know what, the people you're arresting, they produced all this shit. And I think at a legal level, it has to mean something. It has to have legal validity, you know? How can we do that?
I mean, I think how folks are doing that right now is like many cities and counties are suing the Trump administration because of what what this has done to their local economy, what this has done to their people, right? What this has done to small businesses. And so that has been part of the lawsuit. Some cities have signed on, right? Some cities have wanted to do that. The state has wanted to do that. There are some ways, novel ways in order to do that and make sure that we account for that. I know that part of, with SEIU 721, with our partners at UTLA, with the roofers, and Los Rucos, and many other, or Jorgel, Caceres, and many other organizations, part of what we did in the Summer of Resistance was to reinvigorate Placita Olvera, to bring folks back to Placita and bring folks back and talk about how there was this desolate economy in Placita, which was a historic part of the city of Los Angeles. But the same thing needs to be done across LA County. That's part of why our brother put together this idea around a town hall in Sela, was because we need to start this conversation not just in downtown, not just here in Huntington Park, but in Bell, in Bell Gardens and in Long Beach and all across the county. But that's part of that conversation, is what we need to do in every community to make sure we hold these folks accountable, because a lot of folks are still at home. But to answer your question specifically, there are lawsuits that are in place to try and quantify that. They're getting creative. We'll see what we can do. But we all know that it should be more. Do folks have any other questions before I pass? Yeah, brother.
How can we protect those who are getting picked up when they're trying to do their court hearings and things like that? What's a good strategy to protect those people?
So I think, so the question was for folks who have to go into a court hearing, for folks who have to go in and check in with DHS or immigration, right? What I would say is, at the Jorgel website, the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights Los Angeles, there is what's called, and it's what I have internalized, a family preparedness kit. And so part of it is having you go in with somebody who is documented, an attorney, and you go in, but you also have a protocol for who you check out with. So when you leave that court, who you're gonna make sure to let them know, hey, I'm here, I'm gonna keep texting you, I'm gonna let you know what's going on, and I'm gonna let you know when I'm out, right, of my hearing. Why? Because, yes, some folks haven't come out. The other thing that we've been working with is with Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice and Pico, California, both amazing faith organizing groups where clergy will accompany folks to an immigration hearing. So if you do have a local pastor or folks are part of a faith group, to have them go with the person to their immigration hearing. It's been something that has proven successful to clear courtrooms of immigration officers, and I'm talking like real brass tacks here, folks, okay? When you know somebody who's got a court hearing on Thursday, you gotta get a faith leader, you gotta get somebody from a community group, a basketball coach, a teacher, somebody to go in with them, because then the folks are leaving the courtrooms. I tell you this from testimonies from our partners at CLU and our partners at Caceres and Jorgel and faith leaders who have gone into court. All of a sudden, they're no longer on that floor detaining people when they leave the courtroom. So this is a very real thing. So I thank you very much for the question, brother, because this is something you can tangibly do. If you know somebody, all the folks who have been kidnapped are part of this community. They went to school here, folks worked here. What did the brother from the Mexican consulate, of the 300 folks, a third of them had been here over 10 years. 30% have kids. So folks are part of this community. We need to make sure and show up for them at court. Okay, that's the one way you can defend somebody. Any other questions?
I have a question. So this is something that I spoke to
Cliff off and on, and it's honestly frustrating at this point. Because I know that we want to support our community members that via giving food, resources, but when it comes down to defense, to defending our community, what I'm finding, and I want to be wrong, trust me, is that we have a lot of nonprofits that are providing that work, but who's defending our street vendors, right? I have a friend right now that's sadly to say still in prison, you know, in Victorville. Even enamorado. He would go city to city trying to defend our street vendors from police officers, right? So what I want to be clear about right now is what side are they on, right? And how is our community at this point even reliant on them? Because the thing is, we've been attacked by them physically, you know, and they know that, you know, and I'm sure our council members know that as well. But the thing is, what we need to address is defensa, you know, how are we gonna protect each other outside of just, clearly we're definitely gonna give them food, but that's not enough. You know what I mean? They're attacking us. So I just want to be very, very clear as to, like, is there an action plan that we could come up with? Because honestly, we cannot continue doing this. I know that Harrison Park is considering using cameras. That was a survey, mind you. It's a survey that's circulating. And hell yeah, we want freaking cameras in HP. The fuck, right? Because we are done being attacked. We're done having our tias and tios being dragged by the police, you know? So at this point, what is the action plan? Because the trust is not there. But that's kind of what's kind of lingering in the air, that the community is just like, no les tengo confianza, tampoco a ellos. You know what I mean? So this is a conversation that needs to be had because it's just very bad, if at all. You know? So just thought to let y'all know.
So I think, is it all right if I address that? Okay, I want to make sure it's cool with everybody. All right, first and foremost, I think what we're doing next, right, and what we need to do, there's a lot of organizations that are doing a lot in Southern California and in SEIU, but folks need to continue. I think we talked about it, many of us participated in the Summer of Resistance, right? And what that did was create demands around stopping the raids, stopping the militarization of the county, and stopping a local law enforcement collaboration with ICE. And that all those three demands have not been met. I want to be very clear, like the raids have not stopped, they've slowed. The military is still in LA County and is still here, whether you see them patrolling the streets right now. And local law enforcement is ready, willing, and able to close streets for enforcement, right? So what our coalition at the Summer of Resistance has called for, and what many folks are coming together to do, is 2 to 3 activations around the city and county every week, reclaiming more space, just like we did at Placita Olvera. But the all call, and for everybody, is a call from the community organizations led by Chirla and Caceres and many of us here, for a community stop. A paro comunitario, a community strike on August 12th of this year, in order to show folks what that means in this county, right? On August 12th, we are calling on folks to do a community strike, to not go to work, to not go to play, to not spend their money, to come out and march. We are going to be working towards that every single day. But the next step is to actually stop, a community stop, and make sure we march in the street. So there's going to be people marching in the street all across the county. But the place that we are going to take back is MacArthur Park. Yeah. We're going to take back MacArthur Park. Why? Because they think they can come with their samurai horses and all their military gear and take back something and invade our communities. We're not okay with that. We're going to make sure that we do a paro comunitario in the long-standing tradition of our communities. Because as many have said, and I've heard mayors now, I've heard labor leaders, for 500 years our community has resisted. This is not new to us. This is just the next call. So that's what we're asking for, is to continue the non-violent direct action to make sure we patrol and keep us safe, but to start with a paro comunitario on August 12th.
I know it's getting late. Can I get 10 minutes more of your time?
Yes.
The next section was supposed to be done by Rosana Cambron. Unfortunately, she had a death in the family, and she couldn't be here tonight. I'm going to cover the next steps. And when I mean next steps, steps that were brainstormed by the United Front Against Fascism, that we want to share with you and get input from you, get feedback. We're going to try to do this as quickly as possible. Next steps to consider. Boycott Home Depot. Now I got a long explanation about why, but do I need to explain it? Can we vote it up by a proclamation? All in favor? All against? Unanimous. Community walks with door hangers. How many of you have done precinct walking where you've gone out and walked for a candidate? If the candidate's not home, what do? You leave a door hanger. Do you put it in the mailbox? No. But you leave it on the door hanger. So what we're talking about is going out with basic know your rights information and speaking to people if they're home, talking to them. If they're not home, if they don't want to answer the door, where do we put that information? In the door hanger. What do you think about that idea? Rapid response. The sister talked about the Los Angeles Community Self-Defense Coalition. If you belong to an organization and you want to get involved in rapid response, call Unión del Barrio. The phone number and their email address is on the sheet that we gave out the next steps. You can join it. Brother Felipe talked about more, getting more. There's a handout, call to action, call Mayor Bass, or if you're not in Mayor Bass's district, not in the city of Los Angeles, call Governor Newsom and tell him, we want more. How's that sound?
Right on.
Neighbors organizing neighbors. There was a sheet passed out earlier. Let's talk about meeting your neighbors and discussing your concerns. Letting your neighbors know that you're becoming united. Developing a rotating block captain so everyone gets a chance to lead. When you get down to it, organizing is a fancy word for relationship building. And who do we first need to build relationships with? Our own neighbors. If you support this idea, we've got 2 feet by 4 feet vinyl sheets that you can get from the back. Go out into your neighborhood, knock on doors, talk to your neighbors, go over your basic rights, create a phone tree, create an email tree so you can get a hold of each other, do the connecting that's necessary so that you can build unity among your own neighborhood. How's that sound? So on that note, I want to say thank you very much for coming out tonight. Give yourselves a hand. Gracias. Thank you. Have a good evening. Be safe out there.